everybody, welcome back to the channel. So I had a friend of mine ask the other day about canning meat. She's super curious, a relatively new canner, and she wanted to know about what she called dry packing, which I've always heard it called raw pack. So it was a little bit confusing. I was like, wait a minute, what are we talking about here? But we're talking about raw pack, where you pack the meat cold into jars, do not add anything else to it. You put your lid on, you process in a pressure canner. I'm assuming you probably could do water bath for many, many hours, but I'm not interested in doing that. We have a pressure canner. I use it all the time. So I actually am canning some more chicken breast for my pregnant bulldog. She refuses to eat anything but my canned chicken and scrambled eggs that we scramble here at the house. She's in the last stage of pregnancy here, and that's pretty much all she'll eat. She won't eat any dog food. So I am canning some chicken breasts today. I actually pulled this out of my freezer to kind of to make room too. I'm dehydrating jerky and putting it back in the freezer, so I needed a little bit more space, and she's going through the chicken so fast I figured why not, we'll just go ahead and can it up. So here's what I've got. This is literally all you need. Chicken, that's it. I mean, you also need your jars and then white vinegar to wipe your rims down before you put your lids on, but this is it. I do not cut the fat off. I did when I first started to do it, but honestly, when you pressure can, I'm doing 75 minutes in pints. When you pressure can it that long, it's gonna break this down and it won't even be fatty. There'll be no gristle, nothing to it. You're gonna pull it out and it's just gonna be like amazing shredded chicken in its own broth. So I did try one time putting water in with it to make broth. And what I found was it actually watered down the real broth that it makes. So the fat is actually what breaks down to make that really nice concentrated broth. This makes fantastic for soups, casseroles. You can use it for buffalo chicken dip instead of the canned stuff you get at the grocery store. This is gonna taste 100 times better. You also can do boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I know some canners do bone in. I'm just not interested in doing that. I just do the boneless, skinless. So this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna take your chicken. You don't even really have to pack it down in. Now I'll probably need to cut one breast in half to actually fill that jar up. All right. And ooh, that's a big one. So let's take these. I have a couple of wide mouths and then I'm using regular mouth jars. So I'm actually gonna save the wide mouths for these really big breasts that I have. So you see how you just kind of shove that down in and it's leaving about an inch of space? That's what you want. You want an inch of space. It's going to cook down a little bit when it's in the canner. All right, so shove this down in here. And this is why I said you want your white vinegar to wipe your lids when you're done, or the rims, I'm sorry, because that goo from the chicken is pretty gross. So you're just gonna shove it down in. And I think I had one more jar than what I needed. So I have one breast left. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut this in half, well, in a couple of pieces actually, to fill up the rest of these jars. This one looks really good, filled up to the top. This one's in pretty good shape, it just needs a little bit of chunk, but I need to put some pieces in those other jars to fill it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this down, put it in, and then I'll show you wiping rims and getting ready to can. All right, so I went ahead and filled the rest of these jars. Now, when I use my white vinegar, literally all I do is just put it onto my vinegar bottle. I make this wet with vinegar, and that is it. And then you just want to take and wipe your rims down really, really good the whole way around. And I kind of do inside and outside just to be sure I get that tight seal. So here you can really see there's like some chicken goo. It's easier to do with two hands, but I can't record and do that. Okay, so these first three jars are done. And then as far as prepping your jars, they don't need to be warm. I literally just wash in soapy water. And then I do the same thing with my lids. If I'm reusing them, I will wash them in the soapy water. If they're brand new out of the case, I just rinse them and go. So you're just gonna put that down. You're gonna finger tighten. And then my canner on the stove that I have takes 3 quarts of water in the bottom. You want cold water, so that's the trick to it. If you're starting with hot product, you need hot water, hot jars, hot lids, hot items to go in the jars. Because we're using cold, this is literally it. This is all your prep. So you just want to shove it in the jar. If I'm doing it for my family, sometime I'll do a packet of Saison seasoning or adobo or even just seasoned salt if I want to season it. But honestly, I kind of like this better because I can season it when I pull it out and it's not seasoned to anything. So it is healthy for the dogs too. Anytime your dog has an upset stomach and you have to feed it chicken and pumpkin and rice, super duper easy. Just combine a jar of this to like the two cups of cooked rice, or 3 cups, whatever it is. And then throw some pumpkin in there, and that should help with any tummy upset. So anyway, so what we're gonna do is take these jars, stick them in our pressure canner. Then we're gonna tighten our lid. I'm gonna bring it up to temp on high. Once my top starts to steam for 10 minutes, we time this to steam for 10 minutes, then you're gonna stick your weight on here and you're gonna bring it up to pressure. My personal pressure here with my altitude is about 12 to 13 pounds. So I'm gonna do 12 to 13 pounds of pressure for 75 consecutive minutes. Then I'm gonna turn off my canner and then let it sit on the stove. I let it sit for about 10 minutes. Then I move it to a towel on the counter, and then I let the pressure come down completely naturally. You don't want to remove that weight until your canner pressure comes completely down. If you do ahead of time, it's either going to siphon, or in my case, 2 weeks ago, the very first time it's ever happened, I actually broke a jar. I broke a jar of spaghetti sauce in there because I was being impatient. I had a second batch to go in and it got me nowhere. So just be patient with your canner, let it come down to pressure naturally, and then you can go ahead and take those out. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish these up, get them in the canner, and then when they're finished, I'll show you the finished product. Hey guys, welcome back. So my pressure canner is still going, but I figured I would show you the end result. This is chicken that I canned last week for Mazikeen. So this is my wide mouth jars, and you can see the fat content kind of floating at the top. That's that fat that kind of dissolved off the chicken. So when you open one of these jars, it's gonna shred as soon as you try to pull it out. You can't actually even pull it out. It'll shred up in the jar. So it made its own broth. So this is from raw packing or dry packing, whichever you want to call it. But you can see how rich and flavorful that broth is. And it actually gave broth straight up to the top of the jar. That's with nothing in it. So if there's any questions on whether it can be done, it absolutely can. I've been doing it now for about 1.5 years. My family loves this. My son will eat it right out of the jar. In fact, he got really mad at me when I made this, and I told him he couldn't have it because it was for the puppy. So there you go. That's pretty much it. They are finished. I would just go ahead and label them and put them down in the basement in our cellar with the rest of our canned items. But these will be gone in the next 3 days. She's going through about a jar a day. So anyway, if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. Otherwise, happy canning.